Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars universe seems to be quite expansive, not just with their new books, novels, comics, and video games, but also, let's not forget about the new Star Wars TV shows and movies that are currently in the works by Disney and Lucasfilm, and exactly the fact that John, George, and Dave are taking a lot of key elements from Star Wars Legends and throwing it into the current Disney canon. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, given that we have a lot of things happening at the same exact time between Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and what they're currently doing with shows out there like Mando Season 3 and 4, the Ahsoka Tano series, and more as well, that's going to be announced at this year's and next year's Celebration event. We have a lot of things that are also being crafted by, of course, other creators out there to handle the other side of things, such as the books and the comics and such. That's really going to pretty much intertwine with all of the new Star Wars shows and movies. Now, on top of all of this, we also know the fact that there are a lot of things happening with, of course, some of the limited Star Wars TV shows out there being expanded and turning into multi-season shows under Bob Chapek's supervision. So, Disney CEO Bob Chapek has been making a lot of key changes to the overall Star Wars universe and exactly how it's going to be handled from this point on forward. Now, with that being said, however, we are just a couple of weeks out from the official release of the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series. A lot of Star Wars fans are getting very excited for that. A lot of fans are also getting very excited for the Ahsoka Tano TV show that's, by the way, set and ready to drop on Disney Plus by spring of 2023. Now, with that being said, however, what's really exciting has a lot to do with what they have planned for the Kenobi TV series. Now, with the Ahsoka Tano TV show set to begin filming their scenes for Anakin Skywalker by this June, with sets already being built for Hayden Christensen, creators Jon and Dave Filoni are also busy with post-production of The Mandalorian Season 3. However, it's described that behind the scenes, both FAVREAU, Filoni, and Deborah Chow are already pre-planning a Season 2 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, since Disney CEO Bob Chapek recently greenlit the plan to make it into 3 seasons instead of a limited TV show, like how it's currently being marketed as. Now, it's described that one big approach that they currently have for the second season is set to involve the full explanation of Mace Windu's survival by the hands of Emperor Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. Mace Windu is already planned to have a big presence in the second season of the Kenobi series, portrayed by Samuel Jackson again. Now, director Deborah Chow originally wanted to bring in Mace Windu for the first season, of course, of the Kenobi series, however decided to write out Mace Windu, believing that it would make, of course, too much fan service and would take away the excitement of Hayden's return as Vader and Anakin Skywalker. Now, many scenes from Mace, of course, were already storyboarded for the first season of Kenobi, and that those concepts are now being transferred to the second season of the show. One of which involves a moment in which Mace Windu's survival is fully explained in the storyboard, showing a flashback sequence to when Windu is getting electrocuted by Palpatine's Force Lightning, to where he is thrown out a window, where the next storyboard fully explains that Mace Windu surprisingly lands on an incoming transporter in the sky, where Windu, of course, holds on to the transporter with one arm, where his face appears to be burnt at this point in time with shredded clothing. Now, let me just stop right here for a second. Now, obviously, this, I think, is the more realistic approach to how Mace Windu survived. Now, of course, one could imagine that he survived the fall by falling from the very top of that building down on the ground. And we already know that Jedi can survive very, high points. But this, I think, is more believable. The fact that he's thrown out the window to where he eventually lands on one of the incoming transporters and hangs on by a thread, only, of course, to survive just by a shred. Now, to me, obviously the fact that Deborah Chow was going to do a lot of this for the first season of Kenobi and that this was cancelled, and how she believed that it would be too fan-servicey and that it would be too over the top. Maybe she was right, maybe she was wrong, who knows? That's left up to you guys to answer. I would like to hear your take on that. but she felt that it was going to be too over the top and would take away the excitement of the return of both Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen with their roles, and of course the Inquisitors. So I think it was kind of a smart idea to maybe save Mace Windu for the second season of Kenobi and to kind of not use him in this particular season. Now, give or take, of course, the fact that at the time they believed that they were only going to be doing a first season and a first season only for Kenobi, and how now Disney CEO Bob Chapek is allowing it to become 3 seasons long. Now they're going to be using those original ideas for the next and upcoming season of the Kenobi series. Moving on. Now, the transport eventually lands in the depths of Coruscant, where Windu is left only to hide and eventually hears the new, of course, in the fall of the Jedi Order and the rise of Palpatine, and learning about the new Empire. Deborah Chow wanted to originally do all of this for the first season of Kenobi, and with Chapek now allowing 2 more seasons of the show, Deborah Chow is using all of those original ideas for the second season, where another sequence reveals that Mace Windu is rushing to somebody for help, where he passes out eventually from his injuries, only to wake up to a medical droid giving him a bionic arm and some other medical assistance in an operating room during Order 66, and as it actually happens. So that's a very interesting theme there, is that Mace Windu is being operated on while Order 66 is happening. And to me, I think that's very fitting, because this is right around the time when Anakin Skywalker is being worked on, medically speaking, and becoming the real Darth Vader that we know and love, right? So Samuel L. Jackson is described to have read over these storyboards, and that they will be used in the script eventually for the second season of the show that has now been approved. Bob Chapek felt that it was the right thing to do to expand the Kenobi series, given that Andor got 3 seasons right off the bat before it even has been released in the first place. Now, Windu is already, of course, planned to get his very own series, of course, by Disney. We talked about this a couple of months ago, that they are planning a Mace Windu TV show that's going to involve Samuel L. Jackson once again, as well as his younger self before the events of Episode 1 being portrayed by somebody else. We'll dive into that a little bit later, but there's a lot of things happening with this show. And when you look at Lucasfilm as a whole, they really are going all out with the TV shows. That really seems to be their new approach. Now, sure, movies are going to be a big deal still, and they're working their way up to that, with new trilogies in the works and new solo films by Kevin Feige and Taika Waititi and others out there. But the TV shows are exactly what Disney's focused on right now, because they can actually focus on these, you know, niche audiences that like specific elements of Star Wars, and they can test the waters and see what works, what doesn't work, and move from there. Kind of like what they did with the Book of Boba Fett, you know, they tested that out. It kind of worked, it kind of didn't work for some fans out there, and they're really, you know, in quite a very interesting phase right now on whether or not they want to move forward with a second season of the Book of Boba Fett. So overall, guys, you know, let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.